Kicking off our list at number 6 is a new Indonesian banger from 2024, The Shadow Strays. This one comes from director Timo Tjahjanto, and if you know that name, you know you're in for some brutality. The story follows a 17-year-old assassin, codenamed 13, who gets suspended after blowing a mission. While she's laying low, she ends up protecting this 11-year-old kid, whose family was wiped out by a crime syndicate. When the kid gets nabbed, 13 goes on an absolutely relentless, violent rampage to get him back, even if it means taking on her own organization. Look, the action here is the main event. We're talking intense, fast-paced martial arts and some vicious sword-fighting sequences that Timo Tjahjanto is famous for. Now, I gotta be real, the story does lean heavily on some familiar action movie cliches, and the pacing can drag a little between the fight scenes. It's not reinventing the wheel on a narrative level, but if you're here for pure, unadulterated action and incredible choreography, this is an absolute killer, and it's a perfect entry point for anyone into modern Indonesian action. Coming in at number 5 is Havoc, the 2025 action thriller from the absolute legend himself, Gareth Evans. This is the guy who gave us The Raid. And he teams up with Tom Hardy, who plays Patrick Walker, a detective who is, let's just say, morally complex. He's not exactly playing by the rules. The whole movie is this chaotic, gritty dive into a city's criminal underworld as Walker tries to track down a drug lord's son who's gotten himself tangled up in a massive gang war. When I say this movie delivers high-octane action, I mean it. Gareth Evans brings that signature gritty, bone-crunching violence he's known for, and the sequences are just relentless and incredibly well shot. Tom Hardy is fantastic, as always, playing this unhinged character just barely holding it together. But let's manage expectations. The story itself feels very familiar. It relies heavily on archetypes you've seen a dozen times. The corrupt city, the grizzled cop, the rival gangs. Some of the narrative threads feel a bit underdeveloped and cliched. But honestly, you're not watching a Gareth Evans movie for a quiet character study. You're watching it for the havoc, and this movie absolutely delivers on that promise. At number 4, we've got a Spanish action flick from 2021 called Xtreme. And let me tell you, this movie lives up to its name. The plot is a classic revenge tale. It follows Maximo, a retired hitman whose life is shattered when his own brother Lucero betrays him, murders his son, and violently takes over the family gang. 2 years later, Maximo is back, and he is out for blood.
Vamos a derramar un poquito de sangre, hermanito.
This movie is all about style and ferocity. It's got this sleek, neon-lit vibe, and the action is just brutal and relentless. It definitely wears its influences on its sleeve. You're going to get major John Wick vibes from the close-quarters combat and gun-fu, and there are even a few moments that feel like a nod to The Matrix. Now, because it's so focused on that, the story is pretty one-dimensional. You're not getting deep characters or a plot that's going to surprise you, so it is 100% a predictable revenge narrative. But who cares? It's an absolute blast. If you just want to turn your brain off and watch a super stylized, hyper-violent thriller where every single scene is cooler than the last, Xtreme is a must-watch. Our number 3 pick is 2020's The Old Guard, starring the one and only Charlize Theron. This one mixes high-concept sci-fi with grounded, brutal action. The film follows Andy, the leader of a small, covert group of immortal mercenaries. These guys have been protecting humanity from the shadows for centuries. The problem is, in the modern age, their secret is exposed, and a slimy pharmaceutical exec decides he wants to capture them to exploit their regenerative powers for profit.
I strongly recommend that we leave right now.
The action in this is fantastic. Charlize Theron is completely convincing as this ancient warrior who is just weary of it all but still a total badass. The concept itself, exploring the downside of immortality and loyalty, is really compelling. The film does get a little weighed down by its own lore, though. The pacing can be uneven, and honestly, a lot of the plot twists feel pretty predictable. It sets up a big universe, and sometimes the narrative gets a bit convoluted trying to explain it all. But it's a solid action flick with a great central performance and a really cool concept. It's intense, bloody, and a total gem for fans of action with a fantasy twist. Alright, at number 2, we're going back to Indonesia for what might be one of the most insanely violent movies on this entire list, 2018's The Night Comes For Us. This is another one from Timo Tjahjanto, and man, this guy does not pull his punches. It stars Joe Taslim as Ito, an elite enforcer for the Southeast Asian Triad. During a village massacre, he has a crisis of conscience and saves the life of a single young girl. Big mistake, since this act betrays his triad, and they unleash everyone to hunt him down, including his old friend, played by the legendary Iko Uwais. Words can barely describe the action in this movie. It is relentless, raw, and unbelievably bloody. We're talking broken bones, severed limbs, and fight scenes in butcher shops. It is just non-stop carnage, beautifully choreographed. The story itself is pretty straightforward, and honestly, a lot of the side characters are pretty underdeveloped. But the core conflict between Ito and his former allies is strong enough to carry it. This is not a movie for the faint of heart. It is a pure, visceral, blood-soaked masterpiece of action. And my number one pick, or picks, is the franchise that has become the new gold standard for Netflix action Extraction and Extraction 2. Both films star Chris Hemsworth as Tyler Rake, an emotionally scarred black market mercenary who is just an absolute weapon. In the first film, he's hired to rescue the kidnapped son of an Indian drug lord from Dhaka, Bangladesh. The second film sees him taking on another insane mission.
He told me to find the reason I fought my way back.
These movies are directed by Sam Hargrave, a longtime stunt coordinator, and it shows. The action in these films is just breathtaking. The first movie is famous for that incredible 12-minute one-take sequence, and the second one somehow tops it with a 21-minute prison riot escape. It's just pure adrenaline-fueled, technical perfection, and Hemsworth is perfect as the haunted but unstoppable Rake. Now, are these movies deep? No. The plots are very familiar, relying heavily on action tropes. Rake's character development, especially in the first film, is pretty cliché, and the storytelling can be shallow. But come on, do any of us really care? These films know exactly what they are. They are built to deliver the most gripping, relentless, and innovative action sequences possible, and they succeed on every single level. They are the definition of a popcorn-munching, edge-of-your-seat banger. So, 6 incredibly bloody and intense Netflix action flicks you can stream on right now. These movies are guaranteed to get your heart pounding. But what did I miss? What's your favorite brutal Netflix action movie? Let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, do me a favor, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, definitely click that subscribe button so you don't miss any more recommendations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one.